Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
Melanie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. So we were just chatting before this. Now you are in BC. How's everything going down in BC?
It's good. It's good. I mean, weather-wise, the sun is shining. So as you know, there's a lot of rain here and we've had a week of sunshine. So I'm grateful for that.
Nice, some vitamin D. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what your story is from a 30,000 foot view.
Oh, goodness. It depends where we start in the vantage point, but I became a real estate investor, a full-time real estate investor in 2017 and focused on flips and doing things in BC. I wasn't, I wasn't a part of all of these communities, so I didn't know what I know now. Obviously, it was very self-serving and I didn't love it at all. I actually hated it and wanted to leave it. And then when I got introduced to the idea that you could do JVs and raise capital and actually make a difference in people's lives through real estate, that was in 2019. And that's when everything sort of took off for me. I focused in New Brunswick, and in a couple of years, we acquired 20 properties, 80 doors there. And I love what I'm doing. So
Amazing. How are you handling 2023 and everything obviously has shifted, the market's shifted, the economy's shifted. An experienced investor like yourself, are you doing anything different to pivot? Are you kind of staying course? Share some insights on that if you don't mind.
no, I've definitely made a huge pivot, but part of that was because of what's going on in the world. And part of that was because I kind of do my life in little chapters. I don't do anything forever. And so I'd already made a decision that I had that couple of years of really focusing on New Brunswick and acquiring doors. I will still do that, but that laser focused, rapid paced action, I already knew that there was a new chapter coming. I just didn't know what that was going to be, what it was going to look like. And it turned out I shifted into focusing on offering mindset coaching for investors because that's been a big part of my entire life and what I was offering the communities anyways. I just wasn't doing it as an active business. And so the timing just kind of worked out that I was ready for a shift. People were hungry for that mindset aspect. And then I was ready to create some active income through offering the coaching. So all the stars aligned to make that shift.
Amazing. I mean, like they say, right? 95% of your success in real estate is actually mindsets, mindset related and being able to take the ups and the challenges and the downs. Cause I'll tell you, if this was an easy game to play, if investing in real estate was easy, everybody would be doing it, but it's not. There's a lot at play. There's a lot of headaches. Probably the more deals you do, the more successful you become, but the more headaches come along with that as well.
That's right. And my background, one of the things that I feel really fortunate in, I just kind of, when life evolves naturally, you don't necessarily have this master plan, but you arrive where you are now and you realize that every step you took led you to this moment in time. So my previous life prior to becoming a real estate investor, I'm a master practitioner of NLP, which most people don't know what that is, Neuro Linguistic Programming. Tony Robbins is NLP based to give most people know who Tony Robbins is.
Yeah.
So my background was in, the mindset, how the brain works, the strategies that successful people use, what makes the difference between excellence and mediocrity. Like all of that stuff was my background. Then I left it, became an investor and kind of just put that aside, obviously implemented it myself, but didn't think of it from the perspective of supporting others. And then it's come full circle to now me. I have the experience as a real estate investor. I know those challenges that we face. I know that, the limiting beliefs we can have, the lack of confidence, the fear is a huge one. I know firsthand what those obstacles are that we have to overcome. And then I happen to be lucky enough to have the skill set from my previous life to be able to help people through that. So, so I'm very lucky that way.
That is awesome. So let's talk about a little bit of the stuff that maybe you did as you were scaling and, with the fear that you had. If you could share maybe some of your stories and maybe some of, the tactics that you, or the measures that you applied for yourself to really be able to scale and do this, investing full time now that you've left your full time job and all that good stuff back. You said 2017, I think it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe just walk us through that mindset piece, maybe some of the struggles and some of the insights that you can share that helped you along the way.
Sure. I mean, one of the things I'll say, and I'm fully transparent. I'm like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, fully open, share all my challenges and, and the wins with everybody. One of the things is, even though I am passionate about mindset and I live it on a daily basis, it does not mean that I'm perfect at it. It does not mean that I live in this state of being resourceful at every given moment. I'm human. I have my good days and bad. I have my like immediate responses to situations. The only difference is having the ability to recognize when I'm going down a path that isn't feeling the way I want it to feel, or I'm not responding in the way I want to respond, then I have the ability and the skills to be able to pull myself back and implement some of those tools. So that's the first thing, is like, I am not exempt. I face all the same things and I don't sail through them because I know, this stuff about mindset. But I mean, when I was first starting out and doing JVs and raising capital, of course, I had the fear of, what if nobody wants to partner with me? In an ideal situation, you're finding all of your partners first, and then you're getting the property under contract and you've got it all lined up. That's ideal. That was not how it unfolded for me. 99.9% of the time, we'd find a great opportunity, we'd get it under contract, and then I'm under the gun and I've got to find our partner or raise our capital, in 3 days or something.
Right.
And so for sure, I had all of those same things of being, what if I can't pull this off? What if nobody wants to lend to me? What if I can't find a partner and I'm going to let my partners down? All of those things. So, one of the consistent sort of things that people will hear me talk about and that I implement in my life almost every day is, I mean, when you're thinking about that, you're imagining it's not going to work out. And obviously, when you imagine it's not going to work out, you feel awful. Your brain's releasing chemicals to your body. You feel like you've already failed when you haven't even given it a shot yet. And then the action that you take is gonna be reflective of how you're feeling, right?
Mhm.
So the minute I go to those places of being afraid it's not going to work out, I have to flip over to imagining a successful outcome. I've got to imagine that I've done this, that it's amazing, that my partners are so happy, and that everything is great. And that's like a strategy I use in so many different scenarios. Many investors who have seen me in other places, I built a fourplex over in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, and it's been a 5-year project that I have faced like every obstacle I feel like one could face in a new build. Um, and I'm still not out of it yet. I'm almost. We have an accepted offer, and last Thursday they removed conditions, so I'm closing in a few weeks. Probably by the time this airs, it'll be closing right around the same time. But I face so many challenges building during COVID, costs increasing, tenants, having drug dealing tenants who didn't pay rent for years, demoing the property and the entire property being a rock, which we didn't know. I mean, you name it. It
You had
was,
you had all the opportunities to crawl under a rock and stay
yeah,
there. I
that's right.
didn't.
But I didn't. I almost did many times, but I didn't, right? It's like
Yeah.
I had to so I created a vision. I created a vision of standing in front of that building, cracking a bottle of champagne, celebrating the successful completion. I didn't know what the successful completion was going to be, because at some points I was going to hold it and bring in partners. At some point, like, that evolved. Every obstacle I faced, my exit strategy had to kind of shift and change. But the one thing that didn't change was that I'm going to stand in front of that darn building. I'm going to crack a bottle of champagne and I'm going to be celebrating the fact that it's complete one way or another. Right. And so honestly, over like the last, I mean, maybe the first couple of years wasn't quite as heartbreaking and challenging, but over these last few years, right up until last week, like holding on tight to that vision that I'm going to crack that bottle of champagne. And you can best believe that the end of April, I'll be taking a ferry over to Nanaimo with that bottle of champagne and I'm going to be cracking it. So we have a choice. Like, things don't go the way we want. We face obstacles that are out of our control. Things happen and it's stressful. There's no doubt about it. We have a choice. We either wallow in it. We either, like you said, crawl under a rock and don't come out, or we do what we need to do mentally in order to get ourselves in a resourceful state so that we can be solution focused, so that we can, then start to pick up the phone, send emails, reach out to our resources, our mentors, and figure out what we're going to do next. But when we're under a rock or when we're sobbing on the couch in a ball, we cannot figure out what to do next to get ourselves moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's many different things we can do to get ourselves from under a rock or on the couch to being resourceful. But the biggest thing is making a decision. I'm not going to allow myself to do that. I'm not going to allow myself to hang out here. I have a goal. I'm on a mission. I have things to do. And therefore, when I get into those states, I'm going to do something in order to shift myself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing.
I mean, it is interesting because, I mean, there's lots of people that are likely hearing your story and relating to that, especially in 2023, as cash flow has dwindled away, as bylaws and restrictions on what landlords can do, cannot do are going away. It's, the tenant board stuff. I mean, every province is different, but, I think
Yeah.
BC and Ontario are very, very tenant friendly. So if you get stuck with a bad tenant, it could take you months.
Yeah.
And there's probably more doom and gloom today, with the rates, the lower cash flow and everything than there ever was. And you're probably super busy now, talking to people and helping them and giving them some of the pointers of for example, of what you did and what you lived through in the last 5 years with that new build project. What are like some common things that you could share, or pieces of advice that you would recommend somebody that's, feeling the pinch of
Yeah.
where we're at right now?
Yeah. I mean, it depends what pinch they're feeling, and there's a lot of different things you can do. But some of the things that come to mind as you just kind of shared those different challenges that people are facing. One is, and a lot of people might not agree with this, and I struggled with it at first, but now I sit in it like I'm totally good with it. I don't, as an example, I don't watch the news. And I need to be educated as an investor to keep my partners and lenders safe and all of that, which I know I find out in these circles and in these conversations, but I don't watch the news because I don't want to sit there and think about how awful the state of the world is in. Unless I'm going to dive in and be part of the solution. If I'm going to dive in and be part of the solution, if there's a cause that I feel passionate about, I'm actually going to take my energy to try to make a difference in that realm, then yes, I need to pay attention. But if I'm literally just going to listen to it so that I can feel like the world is collapsing, I'm not going to do that, because here in my world, if I focus on the things that are working, the people that I care about, the things that I do have control over, I'm going to feel a lot more resourceful, a lot more able to empowered to create the life that I want to create. So that's one thing, is paying attention to what are you inundating yourself with? What are the things that you're allowing into your space? There's a reality. Interest rates have increased. That has lowered cash flow. It doesn't matter, how positive of a thinker I am, there's a reality to that, right? If we're in it, my belief is if we're in it for the long-term gain, if we're not having to liquidate something right now, then it's a matter of focusing on the fact that this is a long-term play, that we are getting mortgage pay down, that we are, that the market will shift, that we see these things happening all the time. I can have this mindset like, oh my gosh, the world is collapsing and what am I going to do? I'm going to lose all this money. Or I can think, this happens all the time. There are cycles in real estate. If I'm going to play in the long-term game, then I'm going to wait this out. These things happen. How can I lower expenses? How can I increase cash flow? What are the possibilities that I can implement that are going to change the performance of this particular property? It's just in how you're thinking about it. And again, I think that some of the challenges that people face is not even recognizing that they have a choice in how they think about it. They just think that interest rates went up, cash flow went down. Let's focus on that. And they don't recognize what that's actually doing to them.
Yeah, no, definitely some great points. Do you have, a morning or a daily routine, or how you like structure it so that and I'm a big believer as well as in cutting out the noise. Like I don't, like you listen to the news. I also don't listen to the radio.
Yeah.
And I also, try to limit all of that because essentially it's all negative, right? It's all
Yeah.
the headlines that sell, and it's just another business. And really, ultimately, at this point, the way that I look at it is a lot of them are being funded by our governments, and their propaganda, which I also don't agree with. So political stuff
Yeah.
aside, I think
Yeah.
everyone probably knows where I stand on that. But aside from that, do you have like a morning routine, a daily routine, or something that you're like, this has worked really well for me to like help with the mindset, help with additional energy, and just like moving, things along towards goals and stuff?
I do. I have a really strong morning routine, and it's only been truthfully the last 2 years, or like 2022 and 2023 so far, where I really have recognized the power in having a morning routine. So before that, when I was really focusing on building in New Brunswick, one of the things I noticed, and this is where my morning routine came from, was, I'd get up at 6 a.m. And I know there's a lot of 4 a.m.ers and stuff like that. That's not me, but 6 a.m. that's really enough for me.
Yeah.
But it was already 10 o'clock in New Brunswick. So the minute I would open my eyes, before I had even, done anything, I was starting to get inundated with the things that needed to get done, or, half done their day by then. And I noticed that I was starting to feel resentful, which is something I don't want to feel. And it's definitely not my partner's fault. They're like, they're rocking it over there for me. It was my own, the way I was doing life that was creating this feeling of resentment that I couldn't get like literally a moment to myself. So that was where my morning routine stemmed from. It was like, I decided before I entered my day, I do it changed last year. It's kind of evolved. I did a mini miracle morning for a bit, and I've been evolving it. But at this point in time, what it is 20 minutes of meditation. And I do that before I leave my room. Like before I leave my bedroom, I've done my meditation. And then I go downstairs and I do 20 minutes on a machine, like on my elliptical or something. So it's like 20 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of sweating. And then I go and I walk my dog for an hour. And I do that every morning, Monday to Friday. I don't hold myself responsible to doing it in that way on the weekends. But on Monday to Friday, I do that so that by the time I land at my desk, I've already looked after myself. I've already had intention on what I want my day to look like. I've created that inner environment for myself. I've honored my physical body by getting that little sweat and getting my blood flowing and everything. And then I go and I walk my dog, which is my time in nature, I think. And listen to podcasts or do whatever. So by the time I land at my desk, I can be of service all day long. It doesn't matter who comes to me for what, I can give all day long because I've already done that piece for myself in the morning.
Yeah. And it's that resentfulness that if you don't get that, and that anger that could potentially build up. Cause like that's what I would need too, right? I want to do like, I used to wake up at 4 when I used to have a full-time job. Now I don't anymore. It's like 5:30. But I want to go to the gym. I want to do my thing before I start, and I actually don't do any meetings until 10 a.m. That's just
Yeah.
like my rule since then. I'm like, I'll get ready slowly, maybe I'll
Yeah.
start checking some emails here and there, but no meetings until 10. And I think it's important to have that like me time or that you time before you start, serving and helping others. You got to help yourself first and fill your bucket first.
100%. 100%. It allows me to start from the place as the person I want to be, right? If I come into the day flying and I'm not grounded and I'm not centered and then I'm not the best version of me. Then how can I do all the things that I want to do if I'm not thriving, if I'm not the best version of me, right? It's doing a disservice to myself and everybody else.
Yeah.
Especially thing with mindset. I got to walk my talk.
Absolutely. What about let's switch it up a little bit because one of the things I sometimes see happen, and you probably see it so much more than me because you're in this field, is people are leaving their full-time jobs, which is amazing, and then they don't have that routine, or they lose that productivity, or that efficiency. Like, are there what are some things that you do to say, okay, the most important tasks, do that you put those first, you put those when you have the most amount of energy? Like, do you have any strategy like that? Like after your morning routine, do you have specific goals for the week that you're like, I need to make sure that this gets completed?
I'm a list keeper, so I don't have a this week I'm going to accomplish this other than when those things naturally happen. Last week I needed to get all my year-end reports to JV partners by March 31st. So like that was a deadline that last week I knew I had to hit. So when there's deadlines like that, obviously I have a goal this week. I'm going to accomplish this. But naturally speaking, in my everyday life, I have an ongoing list that I actually do at the end of every day for the next day, so that I start with a clean list. And depending on how busy I am or how overwhelmed I'm feeling, I have two different list making strategies. So one is just a linear list like we all would have. But once it gets to be a lot and I've got a lot of different things going on, I actually divide my paper into 9 sections. So like 2 lines down and 2 lines across. So it's in blocks, and each square represents whether it's like, let's say my fourplex has a lot going on and a lot of things that need to get done. One box would be the fourplex. One would be, we're doing a renovation on a carriage house up in Lake Country. So that would be another. I'd have a personal block. I'd have a, New Brunswick block. So what that does is it allows me when things pop into my mind, oh, right, I've got to check on insurance on blank or whatever it might be. I can put it in the right box. And that way I can either dive into a box, so project specific, to get stuff done that's there, or I can just hop from box to box and, cross things off my list. And then again, at the end of the day, I clean it up and do a new list for tomorrow. Now that's super archaic. And I know there's a lot of apps and different things that can keep people on track. For me, I like to see it all at a glance. Like, I don't want to have to go into my phone and look for something. Sitting beside me on my desk is always my list of the most important things that need to get done for me.
Awesome. Now, do you have like assistants or virtual assistants or people that you sometimes delegate stuff to as well from that list?
No, I'm terrible. It's one of the things that I've been focusing a lot on, the who, not how, or it's been coming into my awareness a lot, everywhere I turn. And so with this new mindset coaching business that I am doing, I'm now starting to recognize the value in that. So when I'm going to say just being a real estate investor, but it's not, I don't mean it that way. But when I was focused on that, I really had my role, and I felt like I needed to do that because I was the face for dealing with every conversation that happened. It was people were investing because of me. And so I needed to be there. Now I'm recognizing I'm doing workshops, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing that. Plus I'm still managing everything else that I was doing before. And so I think it's probably coming to the time where that would be a smart addition to my repertoire for sure.
Yeah, no, you know what? I would not be doing these podcasts if it wasn't for my VAs. You basically, because it used to take me like four hours for every podcast on editing it, putting it together, uploading it. And it was just not effective. So, I've had some VAs that have been with me for, I don't know, 5 years, and they just do everything, all the background stuff, the little stuff. So, and I will tell you, it's like a lot less expensive than people think. I think mine, it's maybe $5-6 US an hour, which is totally fine for the small tasks that you want to pass off. Right. So, from there you could have some more local people, but, there's lots of things that like you can kind of duplicate yourself and grow with. I'm a big believer in delegation as much as possible for my sanity, my mindset as well.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I've been really recognizing for myself is I'm not a good delegator. And so, that's something that I'm going to have to get better at. And again, I'm just totally open and honest. Like, that's something I'm recognizing. I do, even at home, I'm terrible. I feel like it's easier for me to clean something than to try to get my kids to do it and be on top of them and all that stuff. It's not a good quality. I don't like it in myself, but it's just the truth is that I seem to just do it all myself. And that's not great for growth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you brought up family. So, what if somebody has, a family member that's not as supportive? As an example, like if they want to do real estate, they want to scale, and maybe, it could be somebody close to them, their parents, or their spouse is not really on board, from a mindset standpoint, or just any insights or tips that you can share if somebody's going through that right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be different if it was somebody's parents versus their spouse. That's obviously going to have a bit of a different impact. But I would say, let's pretend it's not the spouse, because I feel like that would be a different conversation, because you'd have to dive into the values of your marriage and, really make sure that you're doing it in a way that you don't that you honor both parties, but go after your goals as well. Like that's a different conversation, which we could dive into. But generally speaking, we are responsible for our own life, and we have to stay connected to what it is that we're wanting to achieve. And again, it's kind of like clearing out the noise. In my opinion, I have no desire to convince anybody that real estate investing is the way to go. Now that's people in my world, that's potential lenders and partners, that's anybody. I want to chat with people who already believe that real estate is an amazing vehicle. And then let's have amazing conversations together. And those who don't, I just don't talk to them about it.
Mhm.
And so, if you have family and friends who aren't supportive, I would say, don't talk to them about it. Talk to the people who are supportive. Build your circle in these communities, because there's so many amazing people where, like, my best friends in life now are my investor friends. We fly all over there. There's 12 of us going to spend time in Kelowna together. Like, just surround yourself by people who do get it and who you can get fired up with. And those who can't, your family members and things that aren't supportive, talk to them about the things where your relationship, does thrive, and don't talk about the things where it doesn't. You don't need everybody to be on board with your dreams. You just need to stay laser focused on creating the life that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. Great insights, great advice. We are coming to our lightning round now. So Melanie, I'm going to ask you 5 questions and you're going to give me the first answer that comes to mind. You ready?
Boy, I guess.
All right. Question number 1 was your favorite real estate investing book.
Oh, real estate investing books. I was going to say Who Not How, but real estate investing book.
Well, it could be Who Not How. I mean,
Yeah, Who Not How I find is at the forefront of my mind right now, and for investing. So
yeah, absolutely. I have it over there somewhere. I read it a few months back. It's really good. It's probably one that you want to like read, a couple times, maybe once a year or whatnot.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned podcasts on your walks with your dog, not necessarily real estate investing, but do you have a favorite podcast?
I do. I'd say my favorite podcast, and it is in real estate, is We Can Do Hard Things.
Okay. All right. Who's that from?
Glennon Doyle.
All right. I'll have to check that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Number 3, what do you do for fun?
I walk my dog, which I absolutely love. I was a hip hop and tap dancer until I tore my meniscus in my knee. So that's what I was doing for fun until then. And wake surfing. I love playing behind the boat.
Oh, wow. Nice. Awesome. Sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Number 4, if you lost everything, all your money, all your assets tomorrow, how would you start again?
I just keep doing what I'm doing and follow my heart. Be of service, try to be of service, and see where that takes me.
All right. And last question, if somebody has $50,000, they want to get started in real estate in some way or another, how would you recommend they spend that money?
Training, learning, educating themselves. The first thing that popped to my mind was private lending, but that's very narrow sighted. So I reneged that on myself. And I say, definitely get into some mentorship and training programs so you can educate yourself on what the best strategy moving forward would be.
All right. Awesome. Melanie, thank you for playing the lightning round. Where can my listeners reach out and find out more?
MelanieRobinson.ca is my website. I also have a Facebook group, Mindset Reset with Melanie.
All right. Amazing. Any final last words of advice?
I would just say pay attention to what you're saying to yourself and what you're thinking, because that is dictating how you feel. And then how you feel dictates the kind of action that you take. So we can all be in control of how we feel, and therefore the results that we create in our life.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you on, and thanks for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?